getting used to the dark. For one thing, we're living in the dark. We're living in the closing chapter of an age dominated by the prince and powers of darkness. And men do love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. Strangely enough, we never had more artificial illumination, never had less light than we have tonight. Man lives in concentrated night, and even his nuclear flashlight can't pierce it. In the second place, not only do we live in the dark, but we get used to it. Christians get used to it. I want to warn you tonight, the best way I know how, of a slow and subtle and sinister brainwashing process that is gradually desensitizing all of us to evil. You're not aware of it. That's the trouble. Little by little, sin is made to appear less sinful until the light within us becomes darkness, and how great is that darkness? Our magazines are loaded with sordid crime, the news stands with corruption, and we're engulfed in a tidal wave of pornographic filth. Television has put us in the dark more ways than one, with Sodom and Gomorrah in the living room. We get used to it. We get acclimated to it. We accept it as a matter of course, its language and its art and its literature and its music. And we learn to live in it without an inner protest anymore. We don't hate evil. We don't abhor that which is evil. We don't abstain from the very appearance of evil. We get used to the dark. And they tell us now, even in some evangelical circles, that we ought to hop and off with Sodom and get chummy with Gomorrah in order to convert them. And the argument is that old one, that the end justifies the means, forgetting that the means determines the end. If you use an unworthy means, you've already spoiled the objective before you get to it. And these dear people are not turning the light on in Sodom, they're just getting used to the dark. Now, the worst of all this is that we get to where we think it's getting brighter, just as if you sit in a dark room long enough, you think it's brighter. Men may dwell so long in darkness that they think the day is dawning. The scene is not getting brighter, we're just getting used to the dark. We call it broad-mindedness, tolerance, peaceful coexistence, it really is, with evil. And in an effort to establish communion between light and darkness, this process reaches out in all directions. Even in evangelical Christianity, it's possible to fraternize with unbelievers until false doctrine becomes less and less objectionable, until we come to terms with it and incorporate it eventually into the fellowship of truth. Some begin by opening the doors to borderline sects and cults who believe almost like we do. And then others want to make a crazy quilt out of all the religions. Now, the same danger exists in the world of doctrine and conduct. You can live in a twilight zone in your conduct and in conditions of low visibility until you find the practices of this world less repulsive than you did. You think it's your mind broadening when it's just your conscience stretching. And you renounce what you call Phariseeism and the Puritanism of your early days. You have a good word for dancing and smoking and cocktails and all the rest of it. And instead of passing up Vanity Fair, you spend your vacation there, maybe. You prefer the borderline to Beulah Land. How much of this world can I enjoy and still go to heaven? Instead of asking how much like the Lord can I be and how little like the world, the point really is how much of the world can I incorporate into my program and still get to heaven. You remember Bunyan's immortal prose when he told us about the Christians at Vanity Fair. I love this old way of saying it. And as they wondered at their apparel, so they did likewise at their speech. For few could understand what they said. They naturally spoke the language of Canaan, but they that kept the fair were men of this world, so that from one end of the fair to the other, they seemed barbarians to each other. Now, we don't seem like barbarians to this world today. We're too much like it. The operators of Vanity Fair today wouldn't see much difference in clothes, conversation, or conduct. As the brainwashing progresses, what once amazed us only amuses us. We laugh at the shady joke, and unfortunately, tragedy has become comedy in America. We're laughing at things today we ought to cry about. It's the strategy of tolerance and acceptance and this permissiveness. All kinds of new techniques are being worked out now on how to socialize at Vanity Fair. But Bunyan's pilgrims had the right idea. We're not here to learn how to live in the dark. We're here to learn how to walk in the light. It's hard to find an old-fashioned sinner anymore. They're scarcer than whooping cranes over the country. Adulteries, free love, the drunkard, the respectable alcoholic, sodomy, homosexuality have been elevated into good society. The murderer is temporarily insane. Parents say, what's the use? I can't use discipline. Nobody up and down the block uses it. Pastors quit preaching on sin. There was a time when ministers spoke forthrightly and named things. We don't name anything anymore. Finney had a sermon on how to preach so as to convert nobody. He said, preach on sin, but never mention any of the sins of your congregation. That'll do it. They'll all go out and say sin's bad, but they won't get under conviction. The woman at Jacob's well did not get under conviction as long as my Lord talked about the water of life and where was the best place to worship, and those are good topics. She got under conviction when he said, go call thy husband. Uh-oh. She'd had too many of them already. And she went back and said, come see a man who told me about what? The water of life? No. Best place to worship? No. All things that ever I need. Is not this Christ? We need some more of the preaching today that names something, that particularizes instead of generalizing. Now let me warn you, as I warn myself, beloved, there is a slow and subtle brainwashing by which we are gradually merged into this age. We are being smudged into gray. When the Lord's sheep are a dirty gray, all black sheep are more comfortable. Will you remember that? If you're one of these gray Christians, all the black sheep take comfort in your condition. You've become a thermometer registering the prevailing temperature instead of a thermostat to change the temperature. Now, the world's in the dark tonight. You know why it's in the dark? Well, for God sent not His Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through Him might be saved. He that believeth on Him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. Now, 19. And this is the condemnation. This is the test by which men are judged. The word really in the original is crisis, with a K spelled with a K. That's the only difference. This is the crisis. You talk about the crisis tonight. It's not Vietnam. It's not the next election. Here's the crisis, and always has been. That light is come into the world, and men loved the darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest that they are wrought from God. The crisis is that Jesus Christ came to this world and precipitated a crisis, because everybody has to take sides about Jesus Christ. There isn't any such thing as doing nothing about Jesus Christ. He that is not with me is against me. He that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. And this light shines in the Savior. I'm the light of the world. It shines in the Scriptures. Thy word is a lamp to my feet, a light to my path, and it shines in the saints. Ye are the light of the world. In the Savior, in the Scriptures, in the saints. But verse 20 tells you why some people don't go to church. Everyone that does evil hates the light. Pretty good way to test your Christianity tonight. Do you honestly want all the light you can get? Or do you want this thing shaded down and arranged to suit your whims and prejudices? Our business as Christians is to let the light shine. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them, turn the light on them. Not merely in pulpit denunciation, although that has a place, but by the contrast of godly living. Jesus used such simple illustrations. He said one was a bushel and the other a bed. Is your light tonight under a bushel, the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches, the cares of this life? And then the bed, resting at ease in Zion. Old William Law used to say, who am I to lie folded up in a bed late of a morning when the farmers have already gone about their work and I'm so far behind with my sanctification. And any preacher and any Christian who can take it easy today is not worth the salt in their bread. Spend more money for dog food and chewing gum than for world missions. And then you get that candle out from under the bed of ease and lazy indifference and take that shade off. You don't have to tell everybody you're a Christian. They'll catch on. But I warn you as a close friend, watch it. Don't like to be reminded of it, but unconsciously we're all being swayed by the subtle trickery of this age. And so whatever it is tonight, the devil has 1,000 devices to get you used to the dark, and you think you're suburban. I've gotten over my Puritanism. Now you can overdo it, yes, the other way, I know that. But watch it. We've never lived in a time as tricky as this. God grant that you may not get used to the dark.